Well, friends, today I welcome you all in this session on final accounts. Well, dear learners, you all might be knowing that the very purpose of preparing the final accounts is to ascertain the profitability and financial position of a business concern. So, in order to take a decision whether to invest in a particular organization, or when someone wants to know the exact financial position of a business enterprise, he has to go through the financial statements, and these statements are known as final accounts. So, today we will discuss how the final accounts are prepared when the adjustments are given. We may be provided a trial balance, and outside the trial balance there will be additional information, and we need to consider all those additional information while preparing the financial statements. Because sometimes what happens that there may be transactions which were unknowingly not recorded in the books of the accounts, or the transactions were recorded in the books of the accounts during the year, but those transactions were recorded in a wrong manner. And when we started preparing the trial balance, there we came to know that some mistakes have been committed while recording the business transactions in the books of the accounts. So, now we need to consider those transactions where the mistakes have been committed. So, the incorporation, the rectification of such mistake is quite essential. Unless we discuss, unless we locate the mistakes, and unless we rectify those mistakes, the financial statements will not reveal the true and fair picture of the business concern. Therefore, in order to prepare the financial statements with the help of the adjustments, it is necessary that these adjustments also need to be taken care while preparing the financial statements. So, now let us discuss how to prepare the financial statements with the help of the adjustments. Well, friends, in practice you are always required to make some adjustments while preparing the final accounts. It is because there may be many expenses and incomes relating to the current year which are still to be brought into the books of the accounts. Then there may be certain items recorded in the current year's book which actually relate to the previous year or to the next year. So, unless such items are duly adjusted in the books of the account, the final accounts will not reveal the true and fair view of the state of affairs of the business. Need for adjustments. Now, the question arises, why the adjustments need to be taken care while preparing the financial statements? Well friends, we know that the financial reporting requires the summarization of business operation for a specific accounting period, because as per the accounting period concept, we need to consider the expenses and losses, revenues and incomes of that particular period in order to ascertain the true profitability position of the business. It is quite possible that certain transactions recorded in the current year books may partly relate to the previous year or to the next year. It is also possible that certain expenditure incurred during the current year has not yet been paid and so not recorded. Similarly, there may be certain incomes which have been earned during the current year which have not been recorded because they have not yet been received. So, keeping in view the present situation, it is quite essential that the happenings taken place during a particular period need to be considered while preparing the financial statements. For example, the financial year, say for example, relates to 1st of April 2019 to 31st March 2020, and say for example, on 1st of October I made the payment of insurance premium rupees 12,000 for complete 1 year. So, this payment of rupees 12,000 belongs to 12 months. Here I have made the payment on 1st of October 2019. So, here April, May, June, July, August, September. So, 6 months have already gone. So, this payment of rupees 12,000 belongs to 1st of October 2019, then November, December, then January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. It means up to September 2020. But our financial year comes to an end on 31st March 2020. So, therefore, the payment of rupees 12,000 for complete year from October 2019 to September 2020. So, here the 6,000 rupees belongs to the current year. It means the financial year 2019-20, and the remaining 6,000, it means from 1st of April 2020 to 30th September 2020. So, the remaining 6,000 belong to this period, that is for 1st April 2020 to 30th September 2020. So, therefore, while preparing the financial statement, such adjustment is necessary so that the financial statements can reflect a true and fair picture of the business enterprise. If such items are not adjusted or brought into the current year books of account, the summary presented in the form of final accounts will not reveal the true picture of the business. Let us take an example, as we have already discussed, that say if rupees 600 paid on 1st July 2018 towards insurance premium, we know that any general insurance usually cover a period of 12 months. Suppose the accounting year is ending on 31st December 2018. It means that half the amount of insurance premium paid on July 1st 2018 pertains to the next year, that is 2019. Therefore, while preparing the final accounts of the financial year 2018, the expenditure on insurance premium that should be debited to profit and loss account is rupees 300, because the remaining 300 belongs to the next year, that is the financial year 2020. The remaining amount of 300 rupees will be carried forward and charged to the profit and loss account of 2019. Let us understand the impact of adjustments on final accounts. So, first of all, the closing stock. Well friends, we know that the goods purchased or produced during the year are not completely sold out by the end of the financial year. There may be a chance that a part of the stock may remain unsold by the end of the financial year. So, the part which could not be sold out up to the end of the financial year is known as closing stock. So, closing stock does not usually appear in the trial balance. It is generally reported in adjustments outside the trial balance. So, closing stock is shown in the credit side of trading account and in the asset side of the balance sheet under the head of current assets. So, when closing stock is appearing in adjustment, that is outside the trial balance. So, dear friends, make it a point that the impact of such item will have minimum at two places. So, the closing stock, if given in the adjustments, will be shown in the credit side of trading account and as well as in the asset side of the balance sheet. And since the closing stock is an asset for the business and all the assets have a debit balance, therefore, we will pass the journal entry closing is stock account debit to trading, because at the end of the year we need to close the balance of the closing account and ultimately it need to be transferred to the trading account. As we all know that trading accounts belong to the items which belongs to the goods. So, closing stock is generally reflecting the amount of the goods remain unsold by the end of the financial year. Then the next one is outstanding expenses. So, the outstanding expenses are those expenses which have been incurred during the current accounting year, but the payment of such expenses have not been made yet. Say for example, if the amount of wages of December month is not yet paid by the end of the month of December. So, this is outstanding wages. Say for example, if the financial year starts from 1st of January and comes to an end on 31st of December of the same year. So, the wages of December 2019 has been incurred but has not been paid yet. So, this is the outstanding expenses, that these are the expenses which have been incurred, but the payment of such expenses have not been made yet. So, the outstanding expenses are the liabilities for the business, because we have already taken the services of the labor for the month of December, but the payment has not been made. So, therefore, any expenses for which the advantage or the benefit has been taken, but the payment has not been made yet, is called as outstanding expenses. So, while preparing the financial statement, if the information pertaining to the outstanding expenses is appearing in the adjustment, that is outside the trial balance, then it will have again impact at two stages. So, first of all, the amount of outstanding expenses will be added to the concerned expenses in trading or profit and loss account, and again the amount of outstanding expenses will also be shown in the liability side of the balance sheet. So, if the outstanding expenses pertains to wages, so wages being the direct expenses, the outstanding wages will be added to the amount of wages, and the amount of wages will be shown in the debit side of trading account, and the outstanding expenses will also be shown in the liability side of the balance sheet. So, this is how the outstanding expenses is treated while preparing the financial statements. So, here the journal entry for the outstanding expenses is quite simple, because expenses are our nominal expenses are covered under nominal account. So, therefore, the expenses need to be debited and the outstanding expenses need to be credited. So, here the journal entry would be expenses account debit to outstanding expenses. So, here in this example the wages was outstanding. So, wages is an expense for the business, therefore, wages account will be debited, and outstanding wages reflect the account of the personal individual. So, here being the personal account, we will apply the rationale of the personal account, debit the receiver and credit the giver. So, here the person has already given the services to the business, therefore, his account will be credited, and the journal entry would be wages account debit to outstanding wages. The next one is prepaid expenses. So, these are the expenses which have been paid in advance. Say for example, if you make the payment in advance expenses. So, these are the expenses which have been paid in advance. Say for example, if you make the payment in advance is called prepaid expenses. Sometimes the benefit of some expenses will be available not only in the current year, but also during the next year. That portion of expenses, the benefit of which is yet to be received, is called prepaid expenses. Example of such expenses are prepaid insurance, interest paid in advance, and the treatment of prepaid expenses or expenses paid in advance. So, this is just reverse to the outstanding expenses. So, here we have made the payment of expenses in advance. So, while preparing the financial statement, the treatment of prepaid expenses or expenses paid in advance would be that these prepaid expenses, the amount of the prepaid expenses will be subtracted from the concerned expenses in the trading or profit and loss account, and will also be shown in the asset side of the balance sheet, because we have made the payment in advance. So, until or unless the benefit of such advance payment is received to the business, it will be treated as an asset for the business. So, here the prepaid expenses will be subtracted from the concerned expenses. Say for example, if it is prepaid insurance. So, insurance is an indirect expenses. So, the prepaid insurance will be subtracted from the amount of insurance which is given in the trial balance, and then the portion of the prepaid expenses will be shown in the asset side of the balance sheet under the head current assets. The journal entry again will be reverse. So, prepaid expenses account debit to expenses. So, here the prepaid insurance is the adjustment. So, the entry would be prepaid insurance account debit to insurance. So, here prepaid insurance is an the personal account. So, here we apply the rule of the personal account, debit the receiver and credit the giver. So, here debit the receiver, the person who has received the benefit, therefore, we debited the prepaid expenses account, and insurance, prepaid insurance. So, prepaid insurance concerned expenses. So, insurance is an prepaid expenses. This amount belongs to the individual. Therefore, anything for which the benefit has not been taken yet will be treated as an asset for the business, and accordingly it will be shown in the asset side of the balance sheet under the head current asset. Accrued income. So, accrued incomes are those incomes which have been earned during the current accounting year, but have not been received. So, accrued incomes are those incomes which we have earned during the financial year, but the payment has not been received yet. Example of such income is commission receivable, interest receivable. So, these are the accrued incomes. So, the journal entry of the accrued income will be accrued income account debit to concerned income. Say for example, if it is commission receivable, then commission receivable account debit to commission. So, commission is an income, therefore, as per the rationale of the nominal account, accounts of all the incomes and gains need to be credited and expenses and losses need to be debited. So, here the commission receivable is an income, therefore, it need to be credited, and accrued income is a personal account. So, here we applied the rationale of the personal account and accordingly we debited the same. So, the adjustment of this transaction while preparing the financial statement is that the accrued income will be added to the concerned income while preparing the trading and profit and loss account, and it will again be shown in the asset side of the balance sheet, because we have already earned such income, only the payment is yet to be received. Therefore, it will be shown in the asset side of the balance sheet under the head current asset. Then income received in advance. So, this income received in advance is a liability for the business. The income which we have not earned yet, but we have received it, is called income received in the liability side of the balance sheet under the head current liabilities, because such income we have not earned and we have received. So, therefore, until or unless we earned the income, it cannot be treated as the assets. So, therefore, when we receive an income and when we have not earned it, it will be treated as liabilities and it will be concerned, it will be subtracted from the concerned income while preparing the profit and loss account, and it will also be shown in the liability side of the balance sheet under the head current liabilities. So, the adjustment journal entry would be concerned income account debit to income received in advance. Then depreciation. So, well friends, you all might have heard about depreciation. So, depreciation is, yes, of course, a source of income for the business, but it is non-cash item. So, depreciation is something which is treated as an expense or loss for the business. So, depreciation means decrease in the value of the fixed asset due to their usage and the passage of the time. We know that the fixed assets are used for the purpose of earning revenue. Therefore, the fall in the value of fixed asset should be considered as an expense or loss incurred in realizing such a revenue and should be charged to the profit and loss account. So, therefore, the journal entry would be depreciation account debit to assets, because depreciation is an expense or loss for the business. Therefore, we applied the rationale of the nominal account and accordingly we debited it, and asset being the real account, we applied the rationale of the real account, that debit what comes in and credit what goes out. So, assets have always a debit balance, but when we charge the depreciation, the value of the assets fall. Therefore, in order to have the exact picture of the book value of the asset, we need to credit the asset account by the amount of depreciation charged. So, depreciation is charged to the debit side of profit and loss account and will be subtracted from the fixed assets in the asset side of the balance sheet. Yes, of course, when we charge the depreciation, so being an expenses, it is charged to the profit and loss account, because all the expenses and losses need to be charged from the debit side of profit and loss account, and it will also be deducted from the concerned asset in the asset side of the balance sheet. Now, there are two important things which need to be taken care while charging the amount of depreciation on a particular fixed assets. So, if it is given that depreciation on asset is to be charged at the rate of 10%, then the students must remember that here it is mentioned that depreciation is charged at the rate of 10%. It means depreciation on that particular asset will be charged for full year, and if it is given that depreciation is charged on the asset at the rate of 10% per annum, then of course the depreciation on that particular asset will be charged only for that particular period for which the asset is put into use. And one most important thing about depreciation, I would also like to tell to my dear learners that in case of straight line method, the amount of depreciation is charged according to the formula, that the cost of the assets minus scrap value or the value realized at the time of discard of the asset divided by the number expected useful life of the asset. This is how we calculate the amount of depreciation in case where the straight line method is charged. And then the another important is that depreciation is always charged on book value in case of a written down value method. This must be kept in mind, and when SLM method is followed, depreciation is charged on cost minus salvage value. So, these important aspects need to be taken care while charging the amount of depreciation in case of fixed asset. Then interest on capital. So, well friends, we know that the funds provided by the proprietor to the business constitute capital. Sometimes the proprietor may like to know the profits made by the business after taking into consideration the interest on capital. So, such interest is treated as an expenses for the business. As per the business entity concept, I have already discussed this aspect many times, that the entity of the business is considered separate with the proprietor of the business. So, therefore, when the proprietor has invested or contributed something in the business which constitute capital, so when business is providing the interest on such amount of contribution, this is treated as an expense for the business, and interest on capital is always charged to the profit and loss account. And while preparing the balance sheet, interest on capital is added to the amount of capital in the liability side of the balance sheet, and the journal entry for this transaction would be interest on capital account debit to capital, because interest on capital is an expense for the business. Therefore, according to the rationale of the nominal account, we debited all expenditure and losses, and capital is a personal account, therefore we applied the rationale of the personal account, debit the receiver and credit the giver. So, here the proprietor is the giver, therefore his account has been credited. So, well friends, this was all about the today's lecture as far as the final accounts is concerned. Thank you very much.